and welcome to another segment of Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Jamie Johnson, the government and legal correspondent, and we have spring elections coming up. The nonpartisan elections are April 5th, and we've been interviewing the City of Hudson candidates for both the council and mayor. And today, my guest is Liz Malanaphy. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you.
And you are running for mayor.
I am.
And so we usually give people a chance to start the thing by talking about yourself, your background, your family, however, what your personal resume would be. And then we'll get into the, priorities and all that stuff later. But,
okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
We have lived here, my family and I, we moved here in 1999.
Okay.
And my oldest child at the time was a fourth grader, so maybe 8 years old, somewhere in there. And my youngest was not even born yet. So we moved. I grew up in southern Wisconsin, went to school at Whitewater, met my husband down there. We moved out to the East Coast for 10 years, started a family. We have 5 kids.
Okay.
And then we moved back here because of his job. He works for Trek Bicycles. So moved back here and found Hudson and just fell in love with it.
All right. And what do you do for a day job?
My day job is teacher.
Okay.
I work at EP Rock Elementary. Oh. So I do reading and math intervention with some of the kids who need a little extra help.
Are there specific grades, or is it just any?
It's any grade. So I work with K through 5. Okay. And then I also have a gig in the middle of the day where I get to do noon duty recess. That was my first job there, and then they kind of added on to it. And so I do reading and math in the morning. I go down to the cafeteria and help the kids with lunch, go outside, help solve a lot of problems out there. And then I do the afternoon reading and math too. At
the one school?
Yep.
Okay. And how about your community involvement then? I know that I've seen you out and about in different ways. So what has that entailed?
Well, my kids were younger. I stayed at home. I was really fortunate, and I was at home with them, but I really was always involved with their school as a volunteer. And as time went on, I was realizing that, the things I love about the community, the river, artwork, public art, those kinds of things really could use some organization and some focus. So I started to work with young people mostly on that. And so I developed programming at the FIPS, which is called Just Add Water. That's a summer art and science program that I teach. I've been teaching that for maybe 10 years, I think, and have done countless community murals, collaborative murals. So if you see a mural, Rivercrest, Willow, EP Rock, the Vine Street mural, Project 30.1, they're never just me. I mean, it's collaborative. So I bring people in from the community to work together. There's usually some sort of an element of educational element, maybe history of the city. The Saranda mural is a pollinator mural, so that was kind of a science mural too. So, and then I've done so many. I worked with Day Away. That was the Department of Aging. I was on the board of Outreach. That's over in Stillwater, but they have a lot of programming that's all up and down the valley. I have worked with many community entities, again, just because I love the people. Mm-hmm. And I really love to, I don't look at myself as that great of an artist necessarily, but I really believe there is an art to sort of weaving people together and bringing people together. And that's really what I love to do, so.
Okay. Well, I think I was reading the newspaper too. You've had a connection with Destination Imagination.
Yeah. Yes, that's been an ongoing one, and that's right now. I probably kind of blocked that out because it's really busy right now. It's crazy. It's been our regional tournament is tomorrow.
Okay.
And so that is 15 teams this year. We have 15 teams. I've been helping direct that program in Hudson with Anita Stillwell for probably as long as we've been here, I think, about 23 years. So that is a creative problem-solving program, and it's international. Mm-hmm. And Hudson's teams, the students in Hudson are amazing. We've gone to globals every year for the last 20 years, I think, and our teams have placed in the top 10 many times. So.
Yes, I know that there's been great success. It's different age groups, right?
Yep.
And but you mentioned regional, so what are the different levels to get to that global
So
level?
they will compete at regionals, and then if they finish top 3 at regionals, they can go to state, and then they can go to the globals if they finish top 3 at state. So, and they really compete in their own age group. So, grades 3 through 5, middle school, middle level, and then the high school is its own separate level too. So,
And where do they hold globals?
it was in Knoxville, Tennessee for years, and then it was moved to Kansas City. And that was the last year they had it. So for the last 2 years, it's been virtual. But we've still had teams competing. And
Is it going to be virtual again if you
no,
get
it'll
that
be
far?
it'll be in person this year. So
Okay, great.
So our kids are very excited about that.
Okay, so with that background, and why are you running for mayor of Hudson?
I love Hudson. I love the community. I love the people. I think I've always thought we should just, we should coin some sort of term about the most creative city in the world, because we have these really amazing creative kids who are going off and competing against other people from around the world and winning. And we have a lot of creativity in the city and a lot of really good stuff going on. So that's a big part of it.
Okay.
I mean, I've really thrown myself into the community because of that. And I think, this year this election came along, and I knew there was one candidate, and you can't have a game without 2 teams, or at least 2 candidates. So I've thought about it in the past, and there was always a really good candidate that stepped forward. And we've always had 2 good candidates.
And I can understand thinking about something before you actually do it. I
Right.
had that same experience. So, but, specifically, why mayor of Hudson and not do the council first before going into the mayor role?
Well, the council, all of the positions, mayor is a difficult position, council member is a difficult position, and I'm sure they're very thankless at times. The mayor, it really resonates with me, because I do believe the mayor is kind of responsible for weaving the community together and bridging entities in the community and solving problems, helping solve problems, but not on their own, helping bring people together to solve problems. Okay. So when you bring people together, that's an art in and of itself. And I think that's something that we really, really, really need to work on right now, especially in our political climate. So I just, I have such an affinity and a love for humanity and a curiosity about people and what they're thinking. And I think that those are probably good qualities in a mayor. So.
Sure. Well, is there anything specific about our current mayor, the fact that he's a 3-term incumbent, that caused you to challenge him as opposed, like I said, running for the council person position or something?
Well, I think 3 terms as an incumbent, that gets to be a lot. I think we have checks and balances in our political system, and people sometimes have limits on their terms, and I think that's for good reason, because you need to look at things through fresh eyes. And so Rich has done a great job leading us through some hard years, the COVID years, and he's done a lot of good in the community. And I know he recognizes and talks about the good that he's done. But I think we also have some division. And I always said this about my kids when my kids were younger, and people would compliment me. I'd say, well, if I take those compliments and take credit for it, then I also have to take the blame for the things they do that are hard, or that are
Right.
mistakes. So I think all of the good that our mayor has done. I think also there are some things that happened that have really shown people that there's division, or really indicated that there was division in our community. And it would be nice to.
Is there a specific
address
example that you have that within the last couple of years? Or?
Well, I think it's what has happened with our city council, and specifically, it would be with Joyce, and Joyce, I believe, was looking out for what was best for our community. And I think, when a person that you value says to you, I have some qualms about this, I have some reservations about this, especially as mayor, it's really your job to listen and say, I might disagree with you, but I have to honor what you're saying. And I don't feel like that was the case necessarily.
Okay, and just for our viewers, you were referring to Joyce. That would be Joyce Hall, an alderperson or a council person who had an ethics complaint. that had to be investigated
Right.
and then, decided upon by the rest of the council.
Right, and I understand that, people can't just talk and speak and say what they want at meetings without being able to substantiate it. That's, important. And I think that was something to be recognized. But I think it was, that it even happened in the first place, that what was put into place was put into place. Mm-hmm. That being the election official that was appointed. Mm-hmm. I think that was an oversight. Like, just it was not judgment on his part that was that would help a community come together.
Okay. So if elected mayor, then what would become your priorities? What do you have? What are your top 3 or 4 issues that you're emphasizing in your campaign?
Well, since I don't have the political experience, the first thing I have to do is to learn. I have to listen and learn. I have to talk to people. I've already been doing that a little bit. We have some really amazing people working for our city. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, the job of mayor, is that the face of the city, maybe the voice of the city, maybe a bridge, again, between entities, but there are some professionals in place that really know what they're doing. Right. So the first thing is to listen to them, learn from them, and then reach out, to people in the community, which I've been fortunate to already be doing through this campaign. People are emailing me with their ideas and their thoughts, and that's my first step. Just a lot of time listening and learning. And I think sometimes when you're new to something and it's your first time at it, or you're learning about it, it kind of does allow you to really see things that maybe the incumbent doesn't see because they've been doing it for so long. So looking at things kind of in a whole new light, that's the first thing I would need to do.
Okay.
The second thing I know, and I know that's ongoing right now, and this would have to be simultaneous for sure, is I know there are a lot of issues with infrastructure that need to be fixed. So those issues, I think, are extensive, and roads and, downtown streets, sidewalks, all that stuff needs to be addressed. And I would like to, again, ask the people who know what they're doing about that, their opinions. But I think there are also probably some ways to find some funding and some environmentally creative solutions that can be put into place too that might allow for some outside funding. Mm-hmm. So with infrastructure, I think that is definitely, again, talking to people, getting the experts' opinions. But I read a lot of articles in the newspaper about cities that are doing things a little bit differently and being really innovative in their infrastructure. And it would be interesting to explore some of those ideas too. So that's a really big one, infrastructure. I know the library has been an ongoing issue in the city for as long as I can remember, practically.
Right.
And I think
used to be in this building here.
I know, that's where it was when we moved here. And we lived right over just a couple blocks away, and we'd walk to it all the time. And it's a big, beautiful library, but it hasn't been funded correctly, and it needs to be funded the way that the rest of the people in our county pay for libraries, I think. So I spent a lot of time talking to Shelley Tugas, who runs the library, and she's amazing and very knowledgeable, and she's done a lot of hard work on it, and it's really close. It's almost in place. So again, asking people, talking to people, the people that know what they're doing, and just trying to make sure that library is viable, right, stays up and running. She's got some great programming going on, and I do believe it brings people to our community. So, and then I know that we really need to explore affordable housing, accessible housing, housing for for people who work here and want to live here too, and maybe can't buy their own home. And again, with that, there are tons of solutions out there that I've seen and heard about, again, with environmental, with an eye to the environment, where some of the accessible and affordable housing can also be really environmentally friendly and help cut down on the bills of the people who are living there. And so, again, just a creative approach to it, innovative approach to it. There's room for that in everything, I think. So those three are big ones for sure, and I really have a desire to sort of renew the faith of people in government. I think a lot of people are doubting our, city government, state government, federal government right now, and especially the young people. I want them to understand that they can get involved and that they will be heard. So.
Well, it sounded like you had some ideas when we were talking a little bit off camera about, how you might get, young people involved. And I don't know if you wanted to share any of that.
Yeah. I was just at an event on Monday night. It was actually a library. The library puts them on, and it was called Voices in the Valley. It was specifically youth voices in the Valley. So I listened to 4 young people speak for an hour, and they were amazing. They really, the ideas that they had, the insight that they had, the way they were able to communicate with each other and with the audience and be respectful about each other's opinions, and the opinions of the people that might be in the audience or might be watching. It was really inspiring to me. And I thought, with all the things they talked about, and they talked about climate change, and they talked about social media, and they talked about mental health. And I just thought, these are the people whose future it is. These are the people who are up and coming and will hopefully be running our country. And they have such good ideas, and it is their future. So why not in some way get them involved? And, in my head, I have, like youth councils that maybe are part of our city government. And they don't necessarily have to be at every council meeting, but they are maybe meeting on their own and coming up with initiatives that we can help them implement in our city. So that's kind of
get plugged into those younger creative ideas.
Yes, because I have seen the creativity of the youth in our city for sure.
Well, thank you for mentioning that Voices in the Valley. I think that was the same time as our school board meeting. So
yes.
I've been meaning to go onto YouTube. I think folks can get on there. And
yep.
You said it was only an hour?
It's only an hour, yep, but they said so much in an hour. And I think there was a Hagen Street meeting that night too. There was a council, there was a lot going on that night. Yeah. But it was a good crowd. It was a good crowd. Very
good. So now you talked about priorities that you would like to put your energy towards, and then there's your typical. So you mentioned infrastructure, you mentioned the library. I wanted to just touch on a couple others that maybe some of the other candidates touched on, but they're the same every election cycle, and I think I've done 7 or 8 election cycles where annexation is brought up, downtown revitalization, public safety, and taxes. So if you want to, if you wanted to address any of those, do you have ideas on any of those that stand out that you want to get addressed here?
Well, I think, taxes is a funny one because that's the one where you're always supposed to come forward and be like, I will not raise taxes. There will be no new taxes. Taxes will be lowered. But I've realized how much or how little control I think the mayor has over what the taxes are in the city. There's so much that goes into that. And a huge part of that is the state of Wisconsin and
they have levy limits.
Right, so the levy limits are a big part of it. I know the schools are a big part of the taxes that we pay. So there are a lot of entities and a lot of things that kind of funnel into that topic that I can, of course can't make any promises about. I do understand that there are people whose budgets are stretched just as thin as they can be. And I've heard from some of those people. And I think we need to honor that for sure. We cannot just keep asking for more and more and more without looking for places that we could do a little better, maybe cut a little bit, maybe get creative and try.
Switch our priorities, whatever it might be.
Right.
All right. How about the public safety, police? We've heard a lot of, especially with the what's gone on over the last couple of years about defunding the police and so forth. Do you think we're on the right track public safety wise in Hudson, or is there some changes that you might look at there?
Well, again, that's something where I would definitely want to go and talk to the police union. I would want to talk to the chief. I would want to talk to the officers. I think police have absolutely the hardest job in the world practically. I think it would be terrifying. I could never be a police officer. I would be scared all the time. So I don't want them to ever be in a position where they feel like shooting someone is their only option. I would like to really make sure they feel they have what they need resource-wise for themselves, for their own, for their own mental health and for the mental health of the people that they might be encountering when they go on a call. And I would like to make sure that they have all the training they feel they need so that they understand and know, where they're at, because they never know when they're going to face that issue of, is it that person or is it me? So I have the utmost respect.
And that training takes money, and so you're not planning on taking that money away. You want to see an investment then in the training.
Yeah, I guess I would say absolutely. I mean, I think they are the ones who probably know the best what they need to feel like they are able to do their jobs and are the best equipped that they can be. So it's a huge issue. And I think our city is incredibly safe. We've had some incidents recently. We had, the things that happened last year downtown. But again, that was
when Minnesota was shut down and our restaurants were open.
That's exactly what I think. I think that was a huge part of it. And that was during COVID. And that was during, so I would like to think that that was kind of an exception and not the rule. I have always felt safe in this city, and my children have, and that's, the police are a part of that. So, but there's a lot of respect. It has to definitely go both ways.
And you mentioned downtown, and so what do you think about the plans for, the fact that we've had these tax incremental finance districts put in place, and we're talking about revitalizing some of the areas. We've already moved the fire department out, and there'll be something replacing that space, and talking about raising the boat launch so that that's not flooded as much and so forth. So with some of those projects, is that again no plans to scuttle that, or are you think it's not going far enough, or?
I don't have any plans to scuttle anything until I learn more about it, for sure. But I do want to, again, our mayor, our city council has done a great job envisioning things that have been, some of them are complete, some of them are still just in the planning stage. So I know the other night, there was the chamber, I think the chamber forum, there was some talk of things that were going to happen, and I don't know that they're for sure. They're in the works right now. They're in the planning stages or before planning even. So there are some exciting things that are hopefully going to happen. I always want to take care of the river. That's something that's really important to me, and it's one of the 8 original wild and scenic rivers. So whatever we do down there really has to be with an eye to how special that resource is and how important it is to our city too for tourism. And so that's huge. And then I think there has been a lot of talk about, maybe there would be some housing downtown. Maybe there would be some buildings that were mixed use, businesses with some housing. And I know our mayor mentioned specifically maybe affordable housing in some of those buildings. So that's exciting to me. It's very exciting to learn about some of the things that are being planned already. But again, I've also talked to some of the people who are responsible for seeing those things through too, and they are so knowledgeable about that. So they've been very helpful getting me up to speed on it.
And you had mentioned about affordable housing and so forth. So that I've also heard that there's very few lots left for residences. So if the opportunity came up and sellers come forward, because the city can't recruit that, but if our adjoining landowners to the city boundary wanted to be annexed, and for some purposes like that, that would be something that you'd like to look into or champion?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to look into it. I'd have to learn all about it, and I'd have to make sure I got the pros and cons. And one thing I can say about myself for sure is that I don't really have I really don't have sort of conflict of interests or competing interests or anybody else. I don't have anybody that's like giving me campaign money and I know they're going to ask. I have nothing, and I'm not saying that anybody does, but I have a very sort of a fresh and open mind about all of this stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not, I don't have any friends in any business, that kind of thing. Most of my friends are in the school, so.
All right. So is there any area of city leadership that you feel you would give extra attention or, may need improvement, from the direction it's been going over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I definitely think we need to actively invest in making sure all voices are heard in this city. I think there's a big segment of our population that feel like people don't care about their voice, or like they're not really part of the city, or they're not really part of the way the city has gone. And I would love to see more diversity in our city. I would love to see people have ideas for all different kinds of programming and housing, and working with everybody who lives here, no matter where they are, where they come from, socioeconomic background, cultural, racial, any of that. Just make sure all of those voices are at the table. And I don't really think they are right now. And it is we all know our community is pretty homogenous. It doesn't we have not historically had a lot of diversity. Definitely changing, and it's exciting to me to think about that.
Okay, great. So is there anything else that you want? We had just like a couple minutes that we haven't touched upon that you would like to get a message out to the voters?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I've really been talking to a lot of people about the fact that my campaign is very grassroots, and I'm not taking outside donations. I just think that money in politics can really muddy the waters a lot. So that's something that's really important to me, and it's not because I don't value people and I don't value their contribution, and it's not because I am trying to make anybody else feel bad for doing that. I just think we really need to do some soul searching when it comes to politics right now. I mean, my youngest son, he's 18. This is the first year he's going to vote. And I feel absolutely apologetic and sheepish and sorry that we adults in this world have put our political state, or our politics, into the state that they're in. I feel like our democracy is still strong. Our country is a great country. It is a shining example of democracy. And I think I want those kids, those young people, to know that the pendulum swings, both ways, and that it's always okay, and that you can roll up your sleeves and still do the work to make it better. And so the cool thing about mayor is it's nonpartisan. That's the really cool thing to me, is that it is not a Republican, it's not a Democrat, it's not the Green Party, it's not a third party or a fourth party. It's a person who's supposed to bring everybody together. And I would like to renew the faith of old people, medium people, and young people in government. And I think a lot about Abraham Lincoln saying that, just so that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. And sometimes it feels pretty dire right now. So that is something that I want the voters to know. That's hugely motivating to me, is just, I want young people to invest in their government. I want them to feel like they can be part of it. I want middle-aged people to feel like they can be part of it. I want everybody, elderly, everybody, to feel like they have a voice. They might want to be on the city council. They might want to be mayor. They might want to run for county board. But we have a lot of people right now who are just like, I don't want any part of it.
Right.
And what's going to happen,
Yeah. Well, great points. Now, how can folks contact you or learn more about your campaign?
I have a website.
Okay.
I made it myself, so it's nothing fancy. But it's www, of course, Liz M for Mayor.
Okay.
So it's just Liz M for Mayor, all one word.
And is the 4 a number or spelled out?
It's spelled out.
Okay.
I tried the number, but it was already taken, I think, or something. And then it's .org.
.org.
Yep. And I'm on Instagram too, and I just put some things on there about local events that are happening, or things that a meeting that I went to that I was able to share the presentation with voters who maybe weren't there, and asking people what their questions are and trying to respond to those. And so that's what I've got right now.
Liz M for Mayor.org.
Yep. And then I have these little, if you see one of these.
Okay.
This is a magnet, and it's stuck on some cars. This is a QR code.
Yes.
So people can just scan it
Here,
with their
why don't
phone.
I just, I was going to hold that up so that people can see that. Now, these will be...
They're on cars. They're like a car magnet, yeah. So,
very good.
So you might see them around town, and if you do, you can scan it and visit that.
All right, very good. thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being willing to, run for office and for getting your ideas out there. Good luck with the race.
Thank you.
And I want to remind folks to get out there and vote on April 5th. Thanks for watching Western Wisconsin Journal.